what you're saying about the mixed density, but I do not wish to live next door to a fourplex. When we built the home, we looked at the surrounding neighborhood. It was single family homes, looked ideal, a lot of walkability to restaurants and other things we might want to do. And that was very attractive. We came from apartment land. I'm not sure why you're saying that there isn't middle housing, because we came from where that is. That's where we were living, up off Treves, those areas. But I don't know that much about what's available, not available in Las Cruces. But I am concerned about increasing the density to the degree that Mr. Noel is talking about doing, and what that does then to the noise, to the parking, because he's only going to have a single garage, and then he wants to do 1.5 parking spaces. So there's a half space per 3-bedroom fourplex, which works if you've got a family that only has 1-2 vehicles. But if you have more than 2 vehicles, they're going to have to park on the street. There's nowhere else that they can park. Plus an increase in parking on the street. I mentioned the solar. We plan to put solar. We built small. We built a 1-story. That was our choice. And I know that Mr. Noel is building within what is allowed. We do have some concerns about if that is going to cut off available sunlight to our solar, because we are small and because his building is going to be 7 feet from our property line. And again, this is all allowable within code, but it's difficult to be the person living next to this proposed project. And had we known that the city might approve this and that this was a possibility, we would not have built here. So I know that the infill development is to try to get these vacant lots utilized, and I'm all in favor of that. But again, the Elevate Las Cruces said, what is the impact on the community? And I think you need to look at what is the impact on the community. You clearly have a neighborhood that does not want this project as it currently stands.
Mr. Weir, are you timing?
Madam Chairman, this is Larry Nichols. I have time to, the spokesperson has actually gone over about a minute of time, but she was mid-sentence, so I didn't call it.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we have to move on, and we would ask that if other people want to talk, that if you have new other things to say, but not repeat, so that we have a chance to hear everyone say whatever they need to say, but let's not repeat things that have already been said. So could we go on to Darrell Hischke? I don't know how to say your name. And you can just say, I agree with everything somebody else said too, so that's okay.
My wife says if you just ignore the C, it's easy enough to pronounce it.
Oh, you just
ignore the C, and that's Darrell Hischke.
Okay, Darrell Hischke. All right, got it.
I'm at 1710 Arizona Avenue, right next door. I was particularly interested in the information from the infill development process. On page 5, it says that the development shall be compatible with existing architecture, landscaping, and character of the surrounding neighborhood. I would submit to you that the quadplex is not compatible with the neighborhood, as indicated by the size of the building and the density is the primary factor. Comprehensive plan also states that density and land use is important in terms of encouraging the infill. And I would suggest that allowing a fourplex next to our house and our neighbors' houses, which are all single-family houses, does not respect the density of the neighborhood. I also wanted to say thank you very much to Mr. Gordon, Mr. Guerrero, and Mr. Smith for doing site visits. That, to me, says that you guys are interested in what's going on and that you're not just a rubber stamp board. Thank you. We're looking at solar, and I'm wondering if this will affect the solar. And I think there's some law, which I did not look up, didn't have time to, felt like this was rushed to get this meeting in, that says that blocking somebody else's solar is an important issue. I was one of the people who said, I got informed of this meeting 12 days before the meeting, not 15 as required. I was told by Mr. Nichols that they felt this was adequate because it was mailed on time, and I suggested that what's important is notifying us, not just when you mail it. And I appreciate you all working hard on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Gregory, oh, your last name went away. So, can you state your last name for me? I'm only getting part of the letters. Oh, here we go. No, Sharanik.
Yep. Greetings, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. I am with a resident of Arizona. We are using a hotspot. He would also like to speak, and Katherine was notified about this. His name is Bob Duffy. He lives directly across from the property at 1771 Arizona Avenue. So I would like to turn it over to him to allow him to speak before I speak to the committee. I would also like Katherine to put up a PowerPoint of the actual lot that shows the 5 lots that are on this vacant property, so that the committee actually can see how constricted this unit will be with the other 4 lots that are on this property.
It's not showing.
Okay. Mr. Duffy, are you ready to speak?
Yes, ma'am. The lot shot is not very good because I don't think that a lot of people understand there's 3 lots across facing facing Rio Grande. And when you stop and look, I wish it was marked better on the property. When you put 4 pieces for the quadplex on one lot, that's a really heavy density. Now, let me give you just a little background. I have lived here since I was 2 years old. My parents bought the property in 1952, and it's just gotten ridiculous on how you're trying to cram everybody together, and we have enough rentals as it is to college kids that we always end up calling the cops over because loud music and loud cars and parties. And my kids grew up here, being here my whole life, and I know you couldn't care less that I'm the only world champion ever from the city of Las Cruces, but that's beside the point. It would be nice to get a little respect for it. Okay, now you have the other PowerPoint out, and that one spot in the corner is where the fourplex is supposed to go in. I'm just across the street, just a little further up, and like I said, my parents moved here with a trailer, and we built the house from the ground up. So we've seen it get a little ridiculous, not to mention that we didn't get near enough warning on this. Even when we got the letter, it was down to about 11 days. So it would just be so nice if we really got what we were promised as far as for time-wise, and to maybe get things organized better, because this is just not right.
Madam Chairman, 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Gregory Sherva for the record.
Thank you.
Ervanick. Thank you, Katherine, for bringing up the screen. I am with my neighbors in asking you to deny this. It does not actually belong in the neighborhood ethos of this community. I realize that Elevate Las Cruces and the need for housing as it stands. However, this gentleman is making a business out of something that is a realistically non-commercial area. I'm glad he's helping his parents out. I'm also glad that he might be able to profit from it. But the IDP was not set up to be a profitable thing for a landowner unless they're willing to make or have a business license for this property. As you can see, if you allow these derivations to the property, then the property will actually encroach upon lot number 901. And as you pointed out, Chair Thomas, it's very possible you might consider these in the future. So if 901 wants to do it and 903 wants to do it, then you have 16 people living on that street, times 1.5 cars. It's something that really the commission should think about. Elevate Las Cruces works, but it doesn't always belong in every neighborhood. And I thank you very much for my time.
Anyone else who wants to speak?
Do I wait to respond?
Yeah, I'll go ahead if you want to respond. Yes, Mr. Noel, that's fine.
If no one else.
If no one has any questions, Commissioner Gordon, if no one has any questions, I'd like to ask a couple of things for clarity rather.
I think Mr. Noel wanted to respond to somebody first, and then we'll come back to you.
I thought he said that no, he didn't need to respond.
I was waiting to respond to everyone as a whole, so that I wouldn't take up too much time.
Well, then maybe I can ask this question.
Okay, go ahead.
Where did it come from 1.5 parking spaces? Isn't it one in the garage and one in the driveway?
Correct.
So how does that come to be 1.5? Isn't that 2 spaces?
That is 2 spaces to me.
To me too. I'm just wondering how they come up with 1.5. If somebody could answer that question for me. Katherine?
Commissioner Gordon, this is David Weir. The 1.5 is a requirement when you have the parking requirement when you do a quadplex in a zoning district that it's allowed. So that would be a minimum requirement for those type of uses.
So it's a minimum requirement, but there is actually 2 spaces.
Correct.
Okay. And then, Mr. Noel, just one other clarity. I'm sure you're going to be living in one of them. Your parents are going to be living in another. You plan on renting out the remaining 2. And I think that you will take in consideration the type of persons that you're going to want to live there.
Yes, that is correct. So I just want to make it clear, this is not the first time that I've dealt with tenants. Actually, because of my responsible nature, the owner of Johnson's Trailer Park entrusted me managing Johnson's Trailer Park from what was it? like the middle of 2018 to the middle of 2020, basically due to the pandemic. I didn't want to deal with people. So, and just to, I guess, try to calm the situation, Karen and Darrell were the first people to know back in May what I was thinking about. I laid out all the plans, and somehow everyone had enough time to sign a petition, just clearing that out there. But as for parking, yes, there are 2 spots, and as an owner, as a landlord, I can limit parking as needed. Also, these are all things that I've told Darrell and Karen over text. As for noise, I do not allow pets. I do understand that the backyard might be small. It is livable. It's a livable backyard. It's not something out of crazy. So I don't allow pets. As for parking, I can do the 2 cars and make sure that the garage is used for one as a garage and not as storage, as well as the driveway be used to help with traffic. To my knowledge, there's no traffic issues because those streets are not main streets. If there has been traffic issues as of right now, I guess I would like to know why hasn't that been dealt with by the community, and now why is it? I'm willing to work with the community to alleviate that situation if that is a problem. Let's see. As for solar, again, I have not shown any disinterest in working with Mr. Darrell and Karen. As a matter of fact, I told them, I wanted to do a 3-story. They were like, no. So in order to mitigate that, even though they had complete disregard for my, motivation, I did move it down to a 2-story, and that's how it was possible, asking for those deviations. As for the solar, if they would like to let me know from the people that they are asking to install the solar, I've known that the solar companies usually use the back of the house, and as doing a drive-by from their house, they do have their roof sloped down so that the solar panels can attract or get the energy from the sun from the back of the house, which my structure wouldn't impede. As for the character architecture of the building, I am willing to, talk about color, talk about, how close it is to Darrell and Karen's lot. Right now, I think you only need 5 feet from the property line if it is the side. If that is the case, I can totally move it to 5 feet instead of 7 feet and not ask for the 13 feet and 2-inch deviation on the other side. Obviously, I'm also willing to, instead of doing the 7 feet on their side, probably move it a little more toward Rio Grande Street in order to alleviate, Karen and Darrell. Let's see. That's for the closeness to the next door. Also, let's see. Yeah, so, Las Cruces is growing. Traffic has been growing. The people there, living there, I'm sure they were aware that, the Las Cruces population is growing and there is a need for housing. That's another motivation of mine, aside from, my parents and all. And also I do not need a business license to own real estate. That's why I bought a mobile home, so that I can live there. I still rent and pay the rent for the piece of land. But yes, I will be living in one of those units if approved. And I will definitely put everything into contract as per no pets, for the noise. What else do the flats do? The flats are apartments on NMSU. They have quiet time, no noise after, I believe, 10 p.m. I am providing, parking with the garage. The flats don't include parking, like inside the units because they're apartments. And that's pretty much it. If we would want to talk about anything else, maybe if the height is an issue, I do know that the piece of land has a bunch of dirt. So I can definitely, I guess, dig. And then also, as per Karen and Darrell's property, they do have one car. I don't think they have a problem with traffic or parking. Let's see.
Yeah, I see a couple more names here. Elizabeth Sosa, did you want to say something?
Actually, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, I'd like to turn it over to my son. I live at 905 Rio Grande Street, and he lives at 905.5 Rio Grande Street. His name is Adam Sosa, and he has a few things to say. Here he goes.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. So, as stated, I live at 905.5 Rio Grande, which makes me about a property and a half away. Not quite a direct neighbor, but the lot is on the corner of my street. I see it every day. My biggest concern with all of this appears to be, look, you can clearly tell there's a lot of community, I wouldn't say outrage, but there's a lot of community concern about this project. And the biggest issue to me is the builder is telling us again and again, I'll work with the community. I understand the context of this community and the architecture and whatnot. But when he starts the meeting and says that his primary reason for building this property is profit, and then when we talk about the concern of density, and he changes the subject to, I'll work with you and I'll give the property a different paint job, or there's not enough parking, well, that's okay, they can park on the street. I'm just concerned that this is being done in good faith. It really seems like the tone of this meeting has been concerns from the community and then attempts to trivialize it to a paint job or too many pets, or, well, we really need property in Las Cruces right now and it needs to be built right here. I don't think the community is being unreasonable. I think that a duplex would be accepted by many people here. I think that there are plenty of options here and the community isn't hardline. I mean, in terms of expanding housing in the neighborhood, the lot itself has been split into 5 different plots of land, all of which I believe are planned to have single family homes. So I don't think it's unreasonable on the community's end, but I am just concerned that we're getting arguments in good faith here when I'm hearing things like, well, you're concerned that there's 4 properties on this one lot. I'll give it a different paint job. That'll make you happy. That's my biggest concern here.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to speak? We have somebody who wants to speak for a second time, but we have to make sure anybody who hasn't spoken yet gets to speak first. Anybody else before we go back to Gregory Sherva?
The way you know that it is in good faith is the fact that I already made changes before applying. I already made changes in good faith.
He's rattled.
Yes. Mr. Sherva, are you muted?
I shouldn't be muted now.
Okay.
I'm going to raise my hand again if your dad's not going to talk.
Bob Duffy would like to speak again, Chairperson. Also, I would like to make sure that David Noel realizes that solar is not collected in that manner. And as far as equity goes, this whole meeting has been about his equity and what he will gain from this and not what the neighborhood will gain from it. And so therefore it is an unequitable discussion. And I'll turn this over to Bob Duffy. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me in one more time. His point of traffic is not a problem. Come live here for a while. I'll promise you that in the morning on rush hour and also in the afternoon. And I don't mean build a building then live here. I mean, I know you're going to build something, but the fourplex is just so outrageous. That place is going to look like a white elephant here. But I have called the cops so many times about the fast traffic plus the amount of traffic since you put speed bumps, whatever you want to call them, on Colorado, and we have the chicanes on Nevada. They now use Arizona a whole lot more, not only more often, more cars, and that's going to add a whole lot more to it. It is a real pain for me to get out of the driveway. So that was really out of context of really knowing what's going on here. Second of all, it will not only block Karen and Darrell's view, but also mine with the great sunsets we have that the city advertises quite a bit when they're promoting Las Cruces. Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, Commissioner Thomas, this is Commissioner Gordon. If there's no one else who would like to speak, I'd like to address a very important question, I think, at this point to Katherine and to Katherine, if she's available.
Yes, Commissioner Gordon.
Okay, my question is this. Mr. Noel just made a statement that he is willing to change some of the setbacks, which are not as defined in this application. If he is willing to do that, to give more space between the house and his neighbors, how do we approve this to try to be very specific as to exactly what he wants to do? Perhaps that we might have to postpone this and let him resubmit with new setbacks. Because I can't remember what he said about going from 10 feet to 9 feet or 7.5 to 5 or whatever.
Sure.
How would you do this?
I would agree with you that I think that the most prudent method would be to basically request that he return with a new design if he's interested in reducing those setbacks to make them more compliant with the zoning. Simply because it is redesigning that footprint. It changes the nature of the infill development proposal, which is usually a little bit more site specific than you see, say, for even a master plan or a zone change. The IDPs are really structured so that we know exactly what's being placed on them when you receive a proposal of this type. So I would recommend that he would return. This would be postponed and that he would return with a new design if that was the desire of the commission.
All right, then when we vote, do we make that request or can you do it now?
Madam Chair, if I may, please. This is Larry.
Yes. Mr. Nichols.
I would submit that the changes I heard Mr. Noel presenting about his setbacks were possibly a foot or two, one way or the other, but it's not going to make a monumental difference in the overall character. But if he is determined to change the footprint, if you will, of the structure on the site, we would have to see that to make sure that the project is still compliant with the infill development code, which it is as it's presented now.
Okay, Mr. Noel, do you have a response to that?
Okay, thank you. I thought I was muted. The only thing I was referring to is the deviation of the secondary front yard, which I'm asking for a 1 foot 10 inch deviation, just to appease Darrell and Karen from being 7 foot away from the back of the building It is not my desire to completely redesign. Again, I've already gone through 2 redesigns, from a house to a 3-story structure to a 2-story structure. And, you know, I do live in a trailer. I bought this piece of land outright. Actually, my property tax is due. I could leave it vacant for a decade if I don't die by then. But my desire is to, you know, help my family, but also this is good for Las Cruces. It's good for Las Cruces having extra housing. It is good in the fact that it'll stimulate, not much. I know the how much it'll stimulate the Las Cruces, and the fact that there are 3 or 4 buildings for, you know, property tax. Not only that, the people that will be living in there will put money into Las Cruces, going to the local restaurants, going to, you know, investing their money, as opposed to going back, you know, driving from either Deming or driving from, you know, even El Paso. There are people that drive from El Paso and they aren't spending in Las Cruces. They're spending in El Paso. Also, you know, and then from Vado, all of those places, that's another influx in Las Cruces. It's housing that is needed. It is influx of money. It meets all the requirements as it's submitted right now. And I'm willing to, you know, work with the community in terms of how I manage the property. And, you know, I have done things in good faith. I've already went through 2 redesigns, one from a house to a 3-story down to a 2-story. That's pretty much that.
I have a question for Mr. Weir. This is
Madam Chair.
Thomas. This side setback, 5 feet on either side of the lot line, that's pretty common, is it not?
Madam Chair, 5 foot is for the side yard setback. This lot is a double fronted lot, so they still have to provide a rear yard on the property. And so if you recall in the presentation, there was the deviations. And so there is a requirement in the R1 district that a rear yard be 20 feet. And one of the setbacks was proposed at 10 feet. So there's actually a reduction in that rear yard requirement with this proposal. But in a traditional,
are there not side yard ones though that are 5 feet?
yes, that would be the requirement. So one of his lots, or one of his setbacks in this proposal, if they were to build a house, one could be reduced to, or well, one would be 5 feet and the other one would be 20 feet. And then you would have your front yard setbacks along each street.
Okay, thank you. We just had somebody in our neighborhood expand their house, and they went right up to 5 feet on the side before the lot line.
That is the minimum requirement for the single family zoning districts, a 5 foot side yard setback.
Right. Okay, I would see one last hand here on the attendees. That's Elizabeth Sosa again, and then we're going to move on.
Yes, I'd like to say that my husband is attending this meeting. His name is Steve Sosa, and he has wanted to speak. He says his hand is up. If you could call on him to speak.
I don't see his hand up.
Is there any way you can call on him to speak without his hand up?
That's up to the tech people, but yes, I can call on him. Can you make it possible for him to speak, Catherine?
Hello?
Is this Mr. Sosa?
Yes, can you hear me,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Oh, good. My name is Steve Sosa. I'm an attorney and I live at 905 Rio Grande Street. First of all, as a technical matter, our procedural due process rights were not adhered to here because we didn't get sufficient notice. And another technical point that I'd like to make, and this is with reference to Commissioner Gordon's concern, is that the Elevate law screws this unless it expressly says this overrides the infill development process, then it doesn't. And I think that you're exactly right, Commissioner Hiron and Gordon, in your concern that this doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood. Our concern is it doesn't have to do with the aesthetics, it's the density. This neighborhood is 70 years old, it's very well established, and there's no property in this entire area that has density levels that Mr. Noel wishes to put up here. It's completely out of character with the neighborhood, and that's our objection. We have gone through this process, and by the way, the notice that we received it on November 12th, and it specifically references infill development process. So if we're not going under infill development process, then why were we noticed in that manner? I submit that infill development is the process that you have to look at, and you have to take into consideration the history and characteristics of the neighborhood. This is an old neighborhood, established neighborhood with single family homes only. There's one exception, a block up, there is a duplex, but there is no such thing as a fourplex in this entire area. When Mr. Noel is talking about the apartments that he's making them close to, making them similar to, and he's talking about by the university, yes, in that area where you have that kind of density, that's totally appropriate. Not in the area here. When he bought his property, he knew very well it was under R1A zoning, as did all the other people that bought those lots there. And now he comes in, wants you all to okay him because he has a good story. And I feel I'm good for him that he takes care of his parents and all of that. But he bought the wrong property to make the development that he wants to do here. And he has to jam it in such a way that he has to get a variance on, not a variance, deviation on every single side to even potentially put that much density in that old neighborhood. It doesn't fit in the least. These lots have a history as well. For the longest time, it was occupied by one house, Nevada's house. About 2005, 2006, they lost their home and a developer bought it. That developer came before—
Madam Chairman, 3 minutes, Madam Chairman.
I'm speaking for a number of people, so I'd ask for some—
Just finish your thought.
We came before the commission on this same property where the developer wanted to put 6 houses. The commission said that's out of character with the neighborhood and disallowed it. That developer then decided to subdivide the property into 5 separate units, which it is now. What was once the Nevada's house is now at least going to have 4 or 5 houses on it. That is appropriate infill development. A quadruplex in an area that has no such thing is completely inappropriate, and we ask you to disallow it. At the very maximum, I would submit that a duplex, if properly planned, might fit the neighborhood. But a quadruplex, no way. And what it does really is it opens the door to that kind of filling in. And the thing is about the comprehensive plan, you have to maintain the character and the quality of life in the neighborhoods that are established where these infill developments are happening. This thing is completely out of character, and the way you know that is that in the 70 years that this neighborhood—
Thank you. I'm going to have to ask you to
in the 70 years, you all are going to be, if you authorize this, it'll be the only
allow
time
you to talk longer. You need to stop now. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll go back to the commission now. Any final thoughts or comments from the commission?
This is Commissioner Gordon. Mr. Sosa just made a statement which sort of echoed what I started this particular item off with about that plan. who was, I think it was David, you explained to me that Elevate Las Cruces now overrides that is no longer in existence, it doesn't pertain. Would you please make sure I understand and fully understand where we stand on that? Is this thing from 1985 still in effect, or is it not?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Gordon, Elevate Las Cruces is a plan. It provides the vision of the community and the guidance of how you want neighborhoods to develop. When the infill overlay was created, there was also a plan, and at the time it was adopted, it followed the 85 and 1999 comprehensive plan. What you have to make your decision on is the zoning overlay. That's a part of the zoning code, and that specifies the process that allows an applicant to make a proposal in those infill areas. And it is a request when you utilize the infill development, it has to be for a vacant property or an underutilized property. And it typically allows some deviations from the existing code. But Elevate Las Cruces is your comprehensive plan, the infill development plan, and the infill ordinance themselves all have guidance and information for contributing positively to the existing neighborhoods. Those are all available for you to use information for you to use to make your decision. The zoning code provides the process to apply. It gives you the criteria to make your decision, and that's the actual law. Anything that's a plan is just information to help you and provide guidance for you to make a decision.
All right, well, thank you very much.
So my question then is, I don't hear any new evidence or new information to be able to say that the staff has made a mistake. Is there something here that would qualify, given what you just said, Mr. Weir?
Madam Chair and council members, when you hear these cases, you can take into consideration the staff report, the testimony that was made before you, and then several of you have identified that you've gone out to the neighborhood and done your site tour. Those are all considerations that you can make to make your decision, whether you support that and agree with staff, or you feel that there's been enough information that creates a difference in facts, and that you would just need to state that when you make your vote on whether to approve or deny this request.
Okay. Any more comments from commissioners? Okay, then I guess we will go to a vote. Can you do a roll call, Mr. Weir?
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Is there one last thing I can say?
Yes, since you're the proposer, yes.
Just to point out there, I did follow P&Z guidelines for obviously notification to the community. And even when the letters did not get there on time, or according to the guidelines, they did. The sign was up, and I do have the picture to prove that. Also, I do have the text in where I was actively working with, or trying to work with, Karen and Darrell. And I forgot to address Bob Duffy. The traffic, so I don't know how long he has been living there, but in that time, right now there's a petition against me, right? But in the many, many years living there, there's only been calling the cops. No petition signed for, bumps, road bumps or anything. That is something that I can, as part of the community, I can help with. I mean, not help with, but like, I would be okay with speed bumps.
Thank you. I don't think the city does speed bumps anymore. I think that the emergency vehicles find that they cut down on their response time too much. I think it's unfortunate that speed bumps and other traffic slowing devices have put in on other streets in this neighborhood. You know, I think if I lived on this street, I probably would petition to get those taken out so that the traffic gets spread out more evenly. So, okay. I think we will go for a vote now. Mr.
Madam
Weir?
Chair, this is David Weir. The original motion by the commission was for approval of the IDP. So a vote for yes would be to approve the fourplex, and a vote for no would be to deny the request. So I'll go to the commission now. Commissioner Sanchez?
Yeah, so unfortunately, what I can see is the absence of any new information other than what city staff has already provided us. I will vote yes. Based on that recommendation and also based on its compliance with Elevate Las Cruces, it encourages the use of alternative housing types, styles, and living arrangements in an established area of the city.
Okay. Commissioner Muniz?
Oops. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm going to vote no. I think it's too much building for the property. I don't like the idea of one-car garages. That's really a thing of the past. People own more cars. They own these big trucks. And one-car garages, I know he's saying he'd make them use it as a garage, but someone's pickup truck wouldn't even fit in it. It's an R1 A zone. They're single-family homes. And we need neighborhoods like that. We've approved a lot of developments of single family homes within this city. And we also need to protect and take care of the ones we have. So I'm denying his request. Thank you.
Commissioner Bennett?
I vote no as well. Based on discussion, the site survey, the IDP doesn't match or doesn't meet surrounding neighborhood. I don't feel comfortable deviating from the current R1A requirements. This does not meet surrounding setbacks, and density does not either. If the units were cut in half, it was a duplex, and it met the setbacks, I'd be inclined to accept this. But yeah, I vote no.
Commissioner Smith?
Mr. Noel, he meets, the compliance as far as the infill development overlay. I know that, with the Elevate Las Cruces, they're trying to, promote new development within established urban areas to fill some of these replace in these parcels, replace these parcels with new homes. I am voting yes. I have my reservations just based on some of the requests for setback, but I feel as far as the plan, the Elevate Las Cruces plan, it does meet the goals and the compliance that the plan is trying to achieve.
Commissioner Guerrero?
I'm also sorry. I'm gonna vote no. The main reason, I was thinking a lot of this, like as getting prepared for the meeting, and I was a little nervous about it just because of the number of complaints from the neighbors. And I think, that's something we definitely need to honor. I mean, there's a petition with, sorry, I forget out of the top of my head, but like 39 signers and that are against it. And I drove by the property, drove by the area. This just seems like it makes no sense in that neighborhood. And I mean, and Mr. Noel, I understand why you're wanting to do this. I have aging parents as well. And, my parents were also looking at, my dad and I were looking into investing in properties and stuff like that. But, we also got to remember, neighborhoods do have certain character. And I also understand that the comprehensive plan, we all want more infill for vacant properties. But to me, this is an example of like, just because we are able to doesn't mean we have to, or doesn't mean it's right. So I apologize. I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner Gordon?
First, I have never ever voted against an infill property. I think that they're very beneficial and important to the city, but I do believe that they belong where they should be put, or where they should be put to use. I'm sorry. I have lots of concerns with the setbacks, with the density. I don't believe it's in character with the neighborhood. Even though it is compliance with Elevate Las Cruces, I think that in the amount of neighbors that are against this, if it was just one or two people, I would say, all right, let's go ahead and do this. But there are a lot of neighbors who are not in favor of this. I think that Mr. Noel should come back perhaps with another option and try again. I realize he's bought this property, but unfortunately, I think I have to say no also.
Madam Chair Thomas?
I vote yes for reasons I stated earlier, that we need this kind of infill. We need these kinds of missing middle options for people. We really need to have neighborhoods who have a variety of choices for housing. I did do a site visit. I saw other two-story things around, so I vote yes.
The motion fails 4-3, so the IDP was denied.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the 3830 East Lowman Avenue zone change, and I'm going to recuse myself and turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Commissioner Gordon.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Do we have a motion to accept? Let's see. What's the name of this thing? Where is it? I guess it's just rezoning of, it's just a rezoning of case, this case number. I guess you have to put the case number in there. Summary of case 20Z0. I mean, I can't tell if it's a 0 or an O. I think it's 20Z005000098. Do I hear a motion?
This is Commissioner Guerrero. I propose a motion for the property of 3830 East Lowman. I was trying to remember if we said we had to read the whole thing. I can definitely do that. If not, I propose a motion for it.
Is there a second? Do we have a second?
This is Catherine. That was seconded by Commissioner Smith.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. We have staff presentation. I believe, Catherine, you're going to be doing it?
Yes, Commissioner Gordon, I will be doing that. And again, just to reiterate, we don't have to list the case number. Just state the address and the type of case that it is for the record, and we will know what that means. So this property is located at 3830 East Lowman. It is along Lowman Avenue, contains two buildings that right now are being utilized for offices, and there's also a shell building on site that is vacant. The property is a little more than 1.5 acres. Is surrounded by a mix of uses, multifamily. There's some single family that's not directly adjacent, but is immediately south of it, and commercial properties. Lowman, of course, is a principal arterial roadway. There are several businesses along this roadway, very similar types of uses, commercial, in addition to medical offices, restaurants, things of that nature. Here's a photo of the site. You can see those two buildings that have been constructed in the parking lot. There are several existing conditions from a previous zoning ordinance. That was zoning ordinance 2660 that was done several years ago. The building heights were limited. There were some requirements for buffers, a requirement for a wall, a very small park or parklet on the southwest corner, a dedication of some small segment of Indian Hollow Road, improving an adjacent portion of Indian Hollow Road, and then a closure of Indian Hollow Road. So these are all the previous conditions. In addition to that, there were some limits to the types of uses that could be allowed on the site. There were no temporary uses allowed. And then of course the uses were very, very limited to carpet and window treatment stores, a clothing store, delicatessen, furniture store, garden supply, grocery, home furnishings, plant nursery, specialty foods and specialty stores, as well as all uses under the office zone that had been there previously. Those were actually only conditioned having to do with site construction and not actually a limitation to the office uses. The applicant has expressed concerns about being able to lease those buildings sufficiently and would like to rezone the property to a standard C3 as opposed to a C3 conditional to allow for an expansion of uses. Ultimately, the site, as you can see, was built out. When that original zone change ordinance 2660 was approved, it was vacant. But of course, it's been built out and all the conditions related to the site development have been fulfilled. I would like to point out that one of the conditions has created a lot of consternation amongst the neighborhood. That one in particular was the requirement of Indian Hollow to be closed during the original approval. It should be noted that although the applicant's request was just a standard C3 zone with no conditions, it was not necessarily his intent to reopen Indian Hollow Road. However, after analysis by city staff, it was determined that there may be some advantages to that, and I will talk about that shortly. I do want to point out that this particular property is in a regional commercial place type, as according to the future development map of Elevate Las Cruces. It encourages large retail and professional service uses, usually in multi-tenant shopping centers just like this. The scale and character is to serve the city and the region as a whole. And next I'm going to talk about Indian Hollow a little bit and where that plays into all of this. Ultimately, as I stated before, the intent of the applicant was simply to allow for additional land uses at the site, not necessarily to reopen Indian Hollow. However, during the analysis of this, staff did look at Indian Hollow and felt that the removal of that condition regarding the closure would provide an opportunity to the city in the future, if and only if it were determined that Indian Hollow needed to be reopened. This would require an engineering study to determine whether the need was there and whether any improvements were required as part of that reopening. And ultimately, the removal of this condition does not indicate that the road will be reopened immediately, if ever. I also want to state that it's probably, I don't want to tie the opening or closure of Indian Hollow to land uses associated at the site, nor do I want to penalize the applicant's interests simply because of Indian Hollow. And so I just want to reiterate that when the commission is looking at this particular project. Here's a picture of Indian Hollow. You can see the structure that's there presently. Like I'd stated before, Indian Hollow has been improved. However, there is a gate that does allow emergency services as well as the utility trash trucks to go through and access the roadway. Reviews were sent to all of the relevant agencies and departments. Staff did not identify any issues associated with the proposal. However, as you may be aware, with all of the correspondence that I sent out to you There were several emails, letters, and a petition with over 90 signatures in opposition, specifically to the reopening of Indian Hollow. The petition in particular was written in such a way that it was not specific to the zone change or uses, but only to the reopening of Indian Hollow. Again, I'd like to reiterate that even if that condition is removed, that does not mean that Indian Hollow will be opened. A summary of the opposition is listed here in the presentation. Ultimately, again, the reopening of Indian Hollow was the primary issue in terms of the letters and the correspondence I received. Large concerns over safety, concerns about increase in traffic in certain areas of the neighborhood, increase in noise, and then an increase in crime. Additionally, there had been some concerns about the legality and the fairness of holding meetings remotely under the current conditions. We had several complaints from some neighbors who indicated that they could not attend a Zoom meeting, nor would they be willing to enter into City Hall and be isolated into a room to participate on city equipment. We also had several requests to actually postpone the meeting based on the fact that this was not held in person and was held via Zoom, specifically because those individuals felt that the participation wasn't fair across all levels of technology or socioeconomics. There were also some concerns about the visibility of the public notice sign. There were some issues. It disappeared. We believe it may have been stolen or blown away at some point in time, was reposted promptly. Those signs, I do want to point out, are meant to have people notice that they're there. And if they're interested, they can call the city, or they can actually park in the parking lot and view those. They're not meant to be necessarily read in detail via a driving car. One of the other concerns that was expressed was the allowance of a medical marijuana dispensary. There were some concerns that with a liquor store adjacent and next door to this property, along with a medical marijuana dispensary, that could attract unsavory characters. I do also have a statement that one of the neighbors would like to be read. I will leave that up to you, Commissioner Gordon, because she was unable to attend the Zoom tonight. It's a pretty short statement, and when we open this to public discourse, if you would allow me to read that, please let me know.
Just remind me.
I will. Recommendation from staff is approval based on a number of items. Basically, essentially the character of that particular commercial corridor, which is Lohman Avenue, in terms of being able to expand those uses a little bit more in the C3 zone. The property is also on a principal arterial roadway, which is specified and recommended for that type of zoning. The request is also supported by Elevate Las Cruces. With that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the commission? Anybody having trouble unmuting? All right.
No,
Since
no questions.
There are no questions. You have a question? Commissioner Guerrero?
No, I was saying no questions.
Oh, okay. All right. It doesn't seem that there are any questions from the commission, so we'll go to the public.
Commissioner, just a point of order, excuse me, this is Katherine again. The applicant is here, and I would encourage you to start with the applicant and then go to public discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's true. We'll do that first. Go ahead. So please state your name and let me swear you in.
And Dr. Al-Homsi has been allowed to speak. He should.
Hello, can you hear me?
You have to let me swear you in first. Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
My wife, Raina, attending with me. Mr. Chairman and community members. My name is Bassem Homsi. I'm a physician, internist, and emergency physician working in Deming for 25 years. We moved from Deming to Las Cruces 5 years ago. We put all our saving and loan from the bank in this property when we purchased it almost like 12 years ago. We built it about 8 years ago, and we executed all the orders and the recommendation by your committee about the buffer, 30 feet buffer, and landscaping, garden, and a playground for the kids, and shade. We feel that we get treated unfairly for this because all the property around us has less restriction than us. We lost a lot of tenants coming to want to rent, and just because looking at the restriction and the time limit and everything that going on in this property, and they change their minds. I feel like the property right now become like almost deserted. More like homeless people are coming, and we have to go every other day as just collecting the defecating around, and the back of the property actually smell very bad. And you can tell I think the neighborhood, it's really smell very bad in that area there. Usually I talk to Hobbs International, the tenants there, and the doctor who rent from us. And we run all the tenants or the potential tenants before we rent to them, or if we want to rent, especially with the previous tenants that they want to go ahead and rent from us. I run it by these two tenants because they are very important. I want to keep the reputation of this property very high. I will not go low with anybody and I don't want to harm the neighborhood. I don't want to make any damage or any bad things going on the neighborhood. But I don't feel like I feel like really we are losing our saving on this, and it's not the same as the other property around us. And any help we can get from the city and from the neighborhood, we appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission? Well, I guess no one has any questions, and then in that case, let me ask, of those people who want, do I know how many people want to speak? Is there some way we can, I can't see the list, so I don't know.
Commissioner Gordon, again, this is Katherine with staff. I can see the list. Currently, there's only one hand up. Jacqueline Straley has her hand up. However, we might request that any other person who wants to speak also raises their hand. It looks like Mr. Bierman has raised his hand. He does represent a large number of the people in the neighborhood. I do know that.
Okay, then the first speaker, if she doesn't represent other than herself, we'll allow her the 3 minutes. And then the gentleman who wants to speak second, we will allow him 6, since there are quite a few people who have submitted signatures on a petition, like over 90. So I can imagine he might be representing quite a number of people. So first we'll allow 3, and then we'll allow 6. And somebody please do the timing.
Yes, Commissioner Gordon, this is Larry Nichols, Community Development. I will time for you, and I will notify you at 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll allow our first speaker to speak. Let me swear you in, please. Are you there?
Are you talking about, oh, I'm sorry. Can you let Mr. Bierman speak first, please, since he does represent the majority?
That's fine. Okay, Mr. Bierman, can you hear me? Mr. Bierman?
Yeah, I just unmuted.
Okay, let me swear you. Let me swear you.
Actually, I was going to follow Chris Sauter. She's the current chairman of the Neighborhood Association.
That's fine if that's your choice. We'll allow her. I think we'll allow both of you. Well, I think in that case we'll allow both of you 5 minutes.
Okay.
Can I swear you in, please? Could you please state your name for the record and let me swear you in?
My name is Christine Sauter, Sautter.
Well, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
All right, you can go ahead. Thank you.
I am going to try not to reiterate what probably Bill's going to talk about, but one of the things that was said was that the removal of restrictions, including the Indian Hollow opening, was in accordance with Elevate New Mexico. Elevate Las Cruces. And when I reviewed the departmental review, I found several inconsistencies that were not conducive. Under department, traffic engineering, there has been no traffic study concluded as yet. It is imperative that a traffic study be completed prior to the commission voting to open the road. This traffic study should include Chimney Rock Road, Little Dam, City View, Horizon View, and Foothill. This is necessary so that you have the complete picture of what it will do to our neighborhood. In regards to Foothill, that is the problem. It was never meant to carry the traffic it is carrying. And I have talked to the traffic department about that. Under department, city MPO, I find this entire section incorrect. Opening Indian Hollow will not serve as important access point of the neighborhood and provide connectivity to the transportation system. Indian Hollow, if you will look on a map, Indian Hollow is less than a quarter block from Foothills and Lowman, which has a traffic light, but is a major intersection. Then you come to Indian Hollow, which has a cross through. Then, less than a quarter of a block, you have the entry into the buildings. Less than a quarter of a block after that, you have an entry into the Nichols Mall. There's no way you're going to avoid traffic accidents. Well, I am not only speaking for the safety of my neighborhood, but the safety of the people in Las Cruces. There were many accidents since I moved into this neighborhood in 2007, and it was closed in 2012, including a motorcycle car accident where somebody died. I think you are opening a bad can of worms by trying to open this road. We have 3 entry points into our neighborhood. We have a Horizon View off of Foothills, City View off of Foothills, and if you come in through Missouri and Hillrise, or Sunrise, or Majestic Ridge, you can come down Roadrunner Circle and enter into the neighborhood and come out on Foothills to get to Lowman. If you open Indian Hollow, you allow all that side traffic to bypass Foothills, which is, I think, the reason you want to do it, but then you cause congestion and potential accidents at Indian Hollow. So I really think you need to consider that when looking at it. I mean, there's not even a potential of putting a blinking light at Indian Hollow. You can't do it. Trying to get through this. Compliance with Elevate Las Cruces Comprehensive Plan, Policy CE-4.3. There are already street networks that provide connectivity within and between residential areas and supporting centers of activity. As I said, we have access from our neighborhoods above Chimney Rock and below Chimney Rock. I'm not sure that we need to open Indian Hollow to cause more problems.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is David Weir. Could I have a point of order and some clarification?
Go ahead.
There is no proposal before the Planning and Zoning Commission this night to open Indian Hollow. That is something that the Planning and Zoning Commission does not even have the authority to do. And has been stated in the staff report, the city would not even do that without some of the studies that are being requested. The request for you tonight is to increase the allowed uses on this parcel of land, and then to remove a condition that was originally placed on him that he has no control over. The gate is totally within city property. It has been constructed and is currently closed. So there is no proposal before you to remove that gate. There is no proposal before you to create that connectivity. The zone is to increase the number of uses and then to separate a condition that was placed on him that he has no ability to change or modify at all. So just wanted to provide that clarification.
Okay. The restrictions on the property, except for the road, really doesn't impact our neighborhood, I don't think. I have heard there are other reasons why that property is not being rented, but that's between the owner and the people. I would say that if there's some stench behind the building, that dirt bikers use it to congregate and go up into the desert. So they may be peeing back there. I don't know. That would be my guess. But you know, the impact for our neighborhood is Indian Hollow, not what he does with that business.
This is Commissioner Gordon. Touching upon this subject of traffic that you talked about, David, I have a question to ask you. Are you there?
Yes, Commissioner. I'm
okay. Here's my question. I realize what we're supposed to do this evening, and we have no control over the street opening, and we really don't want to put that. I don't think we're supposed to determine whether we put a condition on that. But if the city, say for example, in the future does decide that they want to open that, before they do, you're saying, you made a statement that they will do traffic studies. I would assume you really can't do a traffic study where there's a gate because there's no traffic there. So you would just have to do traffic in the surrounding area. So if there's a lot of traffic in the surrounding area, how would you determine if any of that traffic would be going down towards this piece of property? I made myself clear.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon, what they would have to do is there would have to be something going place at those other access points to the west of this area, that those areas were overburdened or they had received a petition from other residents in the area. And then the Public Works Department Traffic Engineering section would put those requirements together. Hector Terrazas from the Public Works Department is here this evening, and he could give you some background on what they require as far as a study and what they would look for and under what conditions that would be looked at.
Can I tell you what the previous?
I think that should be. Excuse me. I think that would be very helpful to let the people hear what he has to say first, so that you can at least ingest what he's trying to tell you and what the city is planning on doing if they have to do it. So let him talk and let him tell you what is going to be, and then you can comment. All right?
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Hector Terrazas. Like Mr. Weir said, I'm in traffic and under public works, traffic engineer. Yes. So if like Katherine said, if the applicant seeks to remove that gate as part of the zoning, they would have to provide a traffic study. Now, like you mentioned, how do we compare what traffic would go through there and wouldn't go through there? More than likely, they would have to give us what kind of development they're going to be proposing. If it's going to be a high intensity, high turnaround, very high volume vehicles, that's going to be one of the factors. Of course, it's going to create more development. If it's more of a local kind of attraction, let's say something that the neighborhood around there is going to drive there and not walk there, that might be one of the impacts. And we see, okay, a lot more local traffic through there is going to be going through there. If it's a major generator that you see that only people going on local are going to be there, it's not going to be local kind of generator of traffic. That's something we could go and look at as well. But for the most part, if they were to ask for the gate to be removed, which isn't, like Ms. Katherine said, it's not really at this point, and Katherine might correct me, at this point, they're just asking for all the requirements to be removed. Now, with that gate being there already, they could ask us to remove it as part of their development. And with any other kind of, and just like any other development, if they're asking for any city infrastructure to be removed, they would need to provide us an accurate traffic injury study, which might mean temporary removal at their cost of the gate to see if there's any other traffic, additional traffic, and the concerns that the residents are bringing up is a real concern. That may be something that can be done as a study, and of course, closing it back up just to see what the difference is. But like I said, Ms. Catherine, they're not asking for them to remove it right now, and it wouldn't be a given that even if this is approved as it is, that the city would approve the removal of the gate.
All right, Ms. Sosa, go ahead. You can go ahead and speak again, and I won't penalize you for that time. So take a few minutes if you need to go ahead and say what you'd like to say.
Yes, there was traffic studies done when the first zoning request went in. And the traffic study showed that there were over 1,000 cars a day coming down Roadrunner Circle, through Chimney Rock, and out Indian Hollow and Foothills. Once the gate was put in, we went down to about 500 a day. And unfortunately, people like to speed down there. And Mr. Bierman has several pictures of mailboxes, fire hydrants, walls that have been impacted by speeding cars before and after the less traffic went through. People don't want to go through the Loman-Telshore intersection. They look for any way to get around it. And coming down my street is one way. And, when I moved in 2007, I asked my neighbors, how come your kids don't play on the street, on the sidewalk, or people ride bikes? And they said, it's too dangerous. With the gate up, the kids are playing in the front, older people are walking. And I have to say that our neighborhood, since the gate went in, according to realtors, is one of the most sellable neighborhoods in the city because of the walking capabilities. It has a lot of different terrain, and a lot of people walk, run, and bike through that area. Opening that up would be a disaster.
All right, thank you very much. Is Mr. Bierman ready to speak? Well, first, are there any questions from the commissioners? I hear somebody talking. Are there any questions? All right, if none, then we'll speak to Mr. Bierman. Mr. Bierman?
Okay, I just unmuted, Mr. Vice Chair.
Before you start, just let me swear you in. I don't think I did that before. You swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law? And just speak your name for the record, please.
I do, William Bierman.
Thank you.
Okay. You seem to put some stock into whether the city staff has made any mistakes. And I pretty much, actually, I sent a 6-page statement to the commissioners by email, and I hope they got a chance to look at it because it goes into the accident record in our neighborhood, and also the traffic reduction since Indian Hollow was closed. And actually, I have a copy of the city closure study right in front of me that shows that 616 vehicles per day were taken out of the entire neighborhood at large. And this resulted in 38,000 fewer home bypass incidents. And that's one car going past one home, 38,000 times a day. So the city staff has recommended a blanket unconditional approval of the applicant's zone change. And there were comments that it's not the planning commission's role to decide whether to open the street or not. But one of the conditions that the staff has recommended doing away with is the condition that the street be closed. Now, the city promised us in 2013 that city would be closed if we gave up our opposition to their rezoning. And the applicant complains that he's got some severe conditions, but he applied for his rezoning in 2012, and he agreed to all of the conditions. And as a matter of fact, if you look at attachment 1 of your zoning map, it shows that this property broke the office buffer zoning between our neighborhood and the East Lowman Commercial District. There were 7 lots along there, all zoned office, and City Council did a spot zoning and granted this applicant his high-intensity commercial zoning with conditions. So I believe that the Planning Commission should recommend that the condition for the closure of Indian Hollow be retained. And also, there was a mention made of medical marijuana. The recommendation by the city staff drops all conditions on uses except for the high-intensity commercial, as well as the traffic issue. So I think there should be a condition, at least one, about medical marijuana or recreational marijuana. State legislature is supposed to take that up in the winter session, and it's expected to pass because the governor and the legislators are for it. So we could end up with a zone there, you could call it the intoxication zone, with the liquor store that's next to the applicant's property, and then the applicant putting in a recreational marijuana store. So I don't think that the Planning Commission should be recommending a carte blanche removal of all of the conditions. And one of the staff said that just because the condition is removed doesn't mean the city would open that road. Well, actually, the mayor, after the city promised to close that road, the city engaged in a public relations campaign to solicit complaints, and they tried to reopen the road. And the mayor actually announced that he was going to unilaterally open the road without council's participation, and we had to go to court to stop it. So if you remove that condition from the conditional zone that's established down there, I guarantee that road's going to be open before you can blink your eye. And I mean, I can show you newspaper clippings where the residents were complaining about the city doing the flip-flop on the road closure. And I would also just like to say that I wish the city staff would give a little more credence to what the residents say and think. And the fact that about 100 residents signed a petition against opening Indian Hollow.
Mr. Chairman, this is Nichols. 5 minutes have expired.
Okay, I think I was given 6.
Yes, go ahead. You could take another minute or so, but please finish.
So my view is that there should be 2 conditions retained on this zoning if you change the zoning at all. One should be keeping Indian Hollow closed, and that there would not be a marijuana store allowed. My statement kind of got trashed as I went through trying to cut it down. But if you don't believe me about the mayor announcing that he was going to reopen the road, I have the times and dates, and he said he was going to charge $25,000 to $35,000 for the neighbors to fund the cul-de-sac to close the road. And I don't think the neighborhood has been treated fairly through this whole process. going all the way back to the approval of the spot zoning. And the fact that the city, without any meetings, without any official meetings, waged a public relations campaign. Somebody wants that road open, and it's against the best interest of hundreds of people who live in the neighborhood. And
Mr. Berman, thank you.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions from the commission to Mr. Berman? Are there any questions? Well, if there are no questions from the commissioners, then I do have a question again. I want to make sure, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Weir and Catherine, that if we cannot approve this with a condition that the road stays closed, is that correct? Anyone?
Go ahead, David, please.
Mr. Chairman, you know, you can place a reasonable conditions on a zoning that you feel protect the neighborhood and promote, elevate Las Cruces. What we're saying is this is an improvement. The original condition was that Indian Hollow would be closed to through traffic. The gate was put up for that purpose, and it's been met. It's a piece of public infrastructure that the city controls. This property owner has no more control on that. And he has not requested that it be opened up. That was something that we wanted to clean up his property so that he could have a viable use of it as going forward. I believe he's also looked at some of the uses, so you may go back to the applicant and ask him about the particular uses. But the Planning and Zoning Commission does not have anything to do with traffic control and public improvements or safety measures. So
is there any possible explanation that you could give me that would give the thought of the city opening that road? Why would they want to do that? I mean, nobody's going to come down that road just to go to those stores. But basically, everybody's going to come off of Loman. It's just going to create another way for people like the residents are saying to cut through and just create probably a lot of problems. Are we not allowed to say that this cannot be closed, that it will be closed? Are we not allowed to do that? Yes or no?
Mr. Chairman, this is David Weir. The connection would be for the neighborhood to have connectivity to Loman. You could put a condition on it. I don't know what you gain by that. You're tying a condition to a piece of property that he has no control over now. It's been built to city standards. It's been dedicated. It provides access to his lot and the one to the west.
But he's not asking that, David. He's just asking to allow him to change his zoning and put in. He sent a list of I don't know, so many different type of things that he would want to have as a tenant. He's not saying anything about the road. He didn't say he wants it open. The residents saying they want it closed.
No, this particular applicant is not requesting that the gate be open nor being removed. All he really is asking is that the uses be increased for his property, and the request to remove that condition from his zoning was at the city's bequest to clean it up and to not burden him.
Mr. Chairman, this is Nichols, if I may.
Go ahead.
I can provide you with a couple of points of interest, I guess, points of information, let me say, Chairman Gordon. I spoke to some folks in the city traffic and also the city fire department and the city police department. And what they told me was what ideas that were expressed were these. as Mr. Weir just stated, that road was put in, part of a design of the city traffic network. Closing that road basically pushed traffic to other areas in the immediate neighborhood. There's our neighbors on adjacent streets that are saying, you know, what they've done by closing that road, what that has done, that's pushed traffic over to our road. So we would like to see more even distribution with that road being open. That was one thought that was expressed. Another was that, you know, our roads and streets that we have are addressed, and emergency vehicles respond to addresses in the most quick manner as possible. If they come up and we're going to go down a road and they find out that there's a closure there, then they have to reroute themselves. So this was a couple of the reasons why the proposal was put in to this action tonight. Yes, the Indian Hollow residents are very concerned about that street being opened. It'll increase traffic. It's the same as their neighbors down the street. They're thinking the same thing, that the road that is open. So I guess there's 2 points there to consider, but that's the points that were mentioned to me. We have a city network of streets. This becomes a part of that network if it were open. Secondly, it does give alternate routes for emergency response vehicles.
Well, let me ask you this, because Commissioner Gordon again. What recourse will the residents have if we approve this tonight and the road stays as it is, with the city having the option at some time in the future, based on whatever studies they want to do, and they say, okay, this road will be open. And now at that point, what recourse will the residents have other than, again, to go out and get 97 signatures to say it should be closed? Will they have to go to court?
Mr. Chairman, this is David Weir again. Everyone has the ability to file a lawsuit if they feel they're damaged by an action. That includes the city as an entity also. I guess the one point that I'd like to make is the condition for the initial rezoning of that property was that road be blocked off and so there's not through traffic. That condition has been met, and the property has more or less been built out. There's still some tenant improvements in there. I would argue that even with the condition that the city could remove that gate if it was deemed a public safety necessity, but there's really, it's a local street there. The opening of the road would only be at the request that I would see from the neighborhood for their own convenience. The road, it's not a direct route to Tell Shore or anything. You have to weave through the neighborhood to get that direction. It wouldn't appear to be a time saver. So there's really no incentive for the city to open that gate unless there was a request of the majority of the neighborhood to do so. The reason we asked that condition be requested, and I said we, the city, was to unencumber this property owner with a city issue, and so that he could put his property to the most productive use that he can, and be an asset to the city and that corridor.
David, I do agree with you. You know, as much as I'd like to think the other way, it's just I'm trying to take the view of the residents and their disdain for having this particular gate open. But in one sense, you are correct. For someone to come from Tell Shore to come out onto Lowman, to me, it just seems so easy just to go down to the traffic light and make a right, than have to go through a neighborhood to get down there. If what I'm saying is correct. But I'm just concerned what recourse do they have if the city does make this decision? That's all. I mean, that's something that I suppose they're going to have to consider. And since this is not something that we're considering, then we'll have to move forward tonight and make our decision. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Gordon, just to clarify, any affected party has the right to appeal a decision. Like if you were, any decision you make on this zone change, the neighborhood could appeal to city council, or the property owner could appeal to city council. Substantively, if you leave the condition that the road closed on the zoning, it doesn't do anything to the property owner. The gate is already there. It's already a condition, and so there's no substantive change to what's going on. His request is to increase the number of uses. It was the city's request to take that condition off his property. So if it remains, I don't think it has any impact on Dr. Olmsey.
Well, okay. I do know that they have a second bite at the apple if we do vote to approve this. They can go to city council and appeal. And vice versa, that if we do not allow it, the property owner can do the same. Can we make a condition then to satisfy apparently the residents about the particular objectivity to a marijuana store, a retail store? Or would that be possible to do that with this particular issue?
Excuse me, Mr. Vice Chairman, may I make one more comment?
Who is this?
This is William Bierman.
Okay, go ahead.
I would just like to correct three things that Mr. Nichols said. One was about rebalancing the traffic in the neighborhood. There are only 8 houses affected on City View compared to 78 on Chimney Rock. The fire chief endorsed the closure of the road. And originally the Indian Hollow was supposed to be a cul-de-sac. I read you a quote earlier with Sharon Thomas suggesting the road be put back as a cul-de-sac. So it never really was part of the road network. So I just don't know why they're so hell-bent on opening that road. And if they weren't, why would they even propose taking it off as a condition?
Well, I don't particularly think that, this is Commissioner Gordon again, I don't think they're particularly hell-bent on opening. According to Mr. Weir, that would be something that would have to be determined in the future, and they certainly could not do it unless they went through the necessary steps, such as a traffic study and investigating what could happen with the traffic flowing in different directions. So I don't think that's okay to say that they're hell-bent on opening. I think there is a possibility, yes, that they could do that. They could go ahead and decide to open it, but then again, I don't know what your rights would be other than to petition the city not to do it. But again, as Mr. Weir said, and as I just said also, if we vote to approve this tonight, and I would like to add a condition of a marijuana retail store, that you would have another bite at the apple. You'd be able to go to city council now and restate your case. And they in turn may say, okay, you're right. You give them 97 signatures. To them, that may be, look, I agree that there's an awful lot of people who don't want this, and I sympathize with them. I have empathy for them. But I don't know in this case as to whether or not we really should be concerned with that particular item that you're talking about. So we'll just have to see what happens in the next few minutes. So if there's any other commissioners who have any questions for Mr. Bierman?
Mr. Chairman, this is David Weir again. You had asked a question about putting condition on the property, eliminating that one use. I think a better approach might be to ask the property owner if he had any objection to that, and that he's actually the one that proposes that use not be placed on the property.
Well, if he says that, this is Commissioner Gordon again, if he states that tonight in testimony, is that considered, etched in stone?
Mr. Chairman, this is David Weir again.
Jackie, I am good. They're going to let me talk.
Who is this? Please state your name.
Let me finish my comment, Mr. Chairman, then you can go to Mrs. Straley. I would then make, if the property owner agreed to limit that use, I would make it a condition of your approval.
That's what I just said. So in other words, we could vote, we would change, we would just say that as a condition when we vote. Before we vote. correct?
That is correct, Mr. Gordon.
Okay, so now who would like to speak?
I've had my hand up for quite a while.
I'm not controlling that. I'm sorry, Levon.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I would just like to say, the gentleman has come for about a change on his zoning, and everything's about Indian Hollow, and everybody's saying, well, they brought 98 signatures. The whole area is dangerous. You could get signatures, 1,000 signatures throughout the city with those speed bumps, and people park their trucks. The streets, you have to drive in the middle of them and slow down. Children shouldn't be playing in the streets. You can't even drive by when they're at their neighborhood mailboxes with their cars parked the wrong way. I think there's a lot of troubles in that area. And before a decision is made, I'd like to hear from the fire departments and the police department, because someone in their letter mentioned a drunk driver turned on Indian Hollow, and a child plays basketball out there. Well, it's not a basketball court. And I've also noticed a lot of cars parked there. It's also not a parking lot. So I'd like to see, before a decision is made, the fire department and police department come before us and tell us what's going on. And let's talk about the zone change. And they're also complaining about a marijuana store. And people that go there, they don't go to get high. I don't think we passed it for recreational use. And I have found with studies with Colorado, they can't even, the people that use it to get high don't go to these stores because they can't afford it. It's cheaper to buy the stuff on the streets. So I'd like those things. I really would like to hear from the police and the fire department regarding Indian Hollow. And let's talk about the rezoning for Bassam Alhosimi. I can't say his name. Thank you.
All right. Are there representatives from the police and fire department in attendance?
Commissioner Gordon, again, this is Katherine. We do have Mark Dubin with the fire department, and hopefully he can address emergency response questions. There, unfortunately, is no member of police this evening, but we do have the fire department.
All right, well, let's at least hear from this Commissioner Gordon. Let's at least hear from the fire department. Mr. Dubin.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. This is Mark with the Las Cruces Fire Department. We've been able to respond with the gate in place. We do have siren activation capability. I mean, it slows response down a little bit. It's negligible. Ideally, for our response, not having the gate in place would be the best, but we've been able to work with it since it's been in place. So I think, as Mr. Weir mentioned, that the ideal scenario is for the closure not to be tied to a piece of property, but be something that the city could control and unburden the owner of the property from having that condition on the lot. But as far as emergency response, we can work with it the way it is right now with the gate in place.
This is Commissioner Gordon. I have to tell you that I am very familiar with the system that works. I live in a gated community. We have that on our gates. And if an ambulance, a fire, or police have to come in, they sound their siren and the gate opens and they're in. It's not a problem. So I am familiar with that, and I'm glad that works for you guys.
It does. And it hasn't been mentioned here tonight, but I know when the gate was put in, our department worked with utilities also because they use it for trash collection as well. So it's something that we do need for city infrastructure, but absolutely would not need it opened at this time.
All right. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any other questions? Levon, does that satisfy your questions? to the extent of only the fire department?
I have to unmute. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's satisfying. He said it works at this time. He didn't make it a permanent thing. You know, those gates act up. And when someone's life or house is on fire, that few seconds that you stop to watch that gate open and pull your truck through, someone could die or your house could be completely burnt down. So it's a question. It's a question regarding emergencies. You worry about the water tankers going on the other streets with those high speed bumps. That's slowing down, rescuing someone's life or saving their house. They did mention that horrible car accident that happened where the guy on the motorcycle was killed, but he was speeding. He was actually speeding and in the wrong. So it's a confusion. It is a confusion. I'm very confused right now as a commissioner because I thought we were talking about zone changing and we keep going to Indian Hollow.
Well, Commissioner Muniz, that's basically what the residents are here to talk about. They're not really too concerned about the zone change. They're concerned about that gate. But I can understand your feelings, and I know how important it is. We're very concerned about it here in my community. What will happen if the darn thing doesn't open? I guarantee you that truck is going to crash right through. They're not going to turn around. All right, is there anybody else from the commission who has a question? Thank you, Mr. Dubin.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
This is Commissioner Sanchez, and
go ahead.
Not so much a question, but more a comment just on a few things. I think in particular, this last issue that we're talking about with emergency vehicle access, I think one of the most important things to keep in mind is that Indian Hollow Road was never supposed to be a through street in the first place. And so when those initial planning were done by public safety departments to figure out whether we could access those in a timely manner and so on, that's already been done. So what it is there's a potential added benefit of opening in Indian Hollow Road because of the way that it was built. But I think it's important, even if you look at, homes I'm seeing on Scenic View Drive, for example, that are right there, or even all the way at the other end on the southern end of Indian Hollow Road. Those are just as difficult to access as it would be to access the northern part of Indian Hollow Road as it is right now. And so all of that planning was done by public safety departments already. So I think one of the things that we need to be doing when we consider public safety concerns on that street there is we need to consider it according to the way it was designed in the first place, actually, not necessarily what it avails itself of now because of the way that it actually was built. The other thing I would add, though, Commissioner Gordon, you did mention about a curiosity about who would come all the way through the neighborhoods in order to bypass Telshore and Lohman. And the answer to that question is it's all the people who live in the neighborhoods. That's actually where that influx of traffic comes from. And I know that very well because not long after that street was closed, I worked at the bank that's right there. That comes out on the two sides of Foothills and Indian Hollow Road. And so I would come from home in order to not have to take any major streets. I would come through all that back area. And in all honesty, it would have been really convenient for me if Indian Hollow Road were open. It would have saved me about 30 seconds to a minute to get to work. But I understand why, for the folks who live there, why this is so important. The public safety concerns really are just so grave for them because I've seen exactly what it does to traffic there. And I can imagine what would happen. That being said, I believe that Mr. Weir has made it very clear today that that's not necessarily the question before us today is whether or not we're opening that road. This is a rezoning question. And I think that that's unfortunate because if I believe that I had a say today on whether or not we open Indian Hollow Road, I would vote that we don't do that. But that's not the vote that I have in front of me today. The vote that I have in front of me today is whether or not we complete a rezoning request for the doctor. And so really for me, what's most important about this whole process is just ensuring that for Mr. Bierman and other folks in the neighborhood, that they continue to have a democratized form of recourse to address this, which they will have with their city council to go over any of these things. The last thing that I would add is just, I would rather us not go down the road of adding any kind of conditions as far as the types of businesses that would be available to the doctor, just because I would very much caution this commission, anyone in this meeting, over the tone when it comes to medical cannabis patients and even recreational cannabis users. And I'm very deliberate about the language that I use here. The term marijuana actually has a disgusting and racist historical pedigree to it. It was only ever invented to disparage Mexican people, actually, who the false narrative was painted that these people were terrorizing communities and so on. And obviously in this meeting and through comments from Mr. Bierman and other folks, that stigma remains. And so that's actually something that we really need to step back from. I don't believe that there should be any condition placed on whether it's a medicinal facility or a recreational facility. And if we do add that, I'm prepared to actually vote against the zoning change.
Commissioner Sanchez, I happen to agree with what you're saying as far as our job here tonight is to vote on a zoning change. But I only brought up the fact that these people are here tonight basically trying to speak, and they're concerned about the road and the gate. That's all. I mean, they have the right to come and speak. It was a part of what they said in history. But again, I happen to agree with you. Our job tonight is to vote on the zoning change. And even if we vote yes, I mean, if they go to city council, they're still not going to be protesting the gate. Only they'll have a time in the future. If, like you said, when the gate is opened, then they'll have to take some kind of step, whether it is to go before city council to protest. And I can give you a perfect example of this. I live up on Sonoma Ranch Boulevard. There's a gated community, and it's an intersection of Sedona Hills Parkway and Sonoma Ranch Boulevard. And the city was going to put in a traffic light. First of all, they put in speed bumps to try to slow down the traffic, and that didn't work. There was complaints by the fire department, police, that it was causing problems in responding to emergencies. Also, was tearing off the bottoms of their trucks. There was a lot of problems, so they removed it. The city removed it, but then he said, "Okay, what we're going to have to do now is to put in a traffic light." And what happened was that the city came up. We had a meeting with the mayor and the city manager and traffic and the police department, and at that intersection. And they all studied it, and the mayor said, you know, the perfect solution to this is to put up 4 stop signs, I'm sorry. And that worked. There's been no problems. We've had a couple of minor accidents, but prior to that, there was many accidents, and I believe there was a death. But now we've not had this problem. But the city's going to still have this option to put in the traffic lights, because the stop signs were only temporary. Now what's going to happen if the city makes this decision, they're going to put in traffic lights, or only the whole area, both it would be the east and west side of Sonoma Ranch Boulevard, would have to go before city council to protest. And that's what we did when the city wanted to put in these traffic lights. We went en masse down to city council, and that would prompted them to come up with the solution that they now have. Now, these people might have to wind up doing the same thing. They're going to have to go before city council the night of a city council meeting and state their case when there's matters before the public. Other than that, I don't know what the recourse is going to be, and that's why I ask. They may have to, if they're that adamant and they want to put up enough money to sue the city, they might have to do that too. I'm not an attorney, and I can't tell them that's what they should do. But you are correct, and I think that we have to just focus our job tonight on voting on this zone change. I mentioned the fact that he doesn't want to have a marijuana store. If he doesn't want to, then that's fine with me. I don't want to tell him what he has in there, what he doesn't have in there. He made an investment in that to rent property to businesses, and I think he should be allowed to do that.
Commissioner Gordon, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just a point of order. We have several members of the public who have their hands up. I just want to remind you that we're not done with public input.
Okay.
And I also have a statement I just want to.
Okay, in that case, how many more people want to have something to say? Do you know?
Yes, sir. Again, this is Katherine for the record. We have Mr. Rob Wood, Jacqueline Staley. I have a statement from a Miss Armina Taylor that I have been requested to read. And it looks like Mr. Bierman and Chris Sauter also have their hands up. Momentarily, John Lemke had his hand up, but it appears, it's back up. So we have several folks that would like to speak.
All right. Let me do this then. For Mr. Bierman and Ms. Sauter, let them wait until the end, and I'm going to restrict them, to the amount of time that they will have to add additional statements. So would you please recognize one of these people, and we will allow them 3 minutes only to speak. And we're going to try to keep them to those 3 minutes because this is just going on, and I don't want to have it to be repetitive. So if they have something different to say, we would like to hear it, absolutely. But if it's just to repeat what's already been said, let them just get up and say, I agree with Mr. So-and-so. So whoever you choose to speak first, go ahead and do it, because I can't control this.
Yes, sir. I'm going to allow Miss Jacqueline Staley to talk.
Okay. Just when she gets on, I'd like to have her speak her name and...
Jacqueline Straley.
No,
Yes, I misspoke. It's Jacqueline Straley, not Staley.
I'm sorry. Did you already speak?
No, I let Mr. Bierman go first because he's the one that brought this forth. So, but I would like to speak, please.
Okay. Then I did not swear you in?
No.
Okay, then let me do that, and then you can talk, and I'll allow you 3 minutes. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
So I moved into my home in 2002, and that's before we had, that's before the applicant had his business, before Natural Grocers, Kelly Liquor, Dunkin' Donuts, Jason's Deli, and I could go on and on and on. So basically, my first incident was when somebody ran into my wall. Okay, so we fix it. The second incident was I was on my grass and somebody came, they went so fast. I mean, people were going 40, 50 miles an hour. They went so fast. And where I live, the reason Indian Hollow is so crucial is because when you're heading south on Indian Hollow and then you head east, and you come around Chimney Rock where I live, you're going around a bend. So these people would go so fast that they would speed out of control. And I had a 2-year-old at the time. They drove up on the sidewalk on my grass right in front of me and my daughter, or my daughter and I, excuse me. Tell me that that's not terrifying. It was extremely frightening. I'm like, I would have never bought this house. Oh my gosh. And thank God for that, that road closure, because, it was unbelievable. And then when you would, then you go past my house and you're heading now, southbound. Then there's another bend. And there was all kinds of issues there. So this has nothing to do with parked cars on the street, okay? We can all find another place to, hopefully, you can park it in the garage or the driveway or whatnot. So nothing to do with parked cars on the street, nothing to do with basketball. This is talking about somebody getting onto my sidewalk and literally driving up on my grass and almost hit my daughter and I. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so... it's so many people with now, and this is before all those businesses, this incident happened. Okay. So now you've got all these businesses there, and yes, they do cut through the neighborhood. We have our neighbors that probably do, but then look at all these people. But the thing about Indian Hollow is, again, when they make their left, they're going around 2 bends. Around 2 curves, one where my house is, and then when they head south, there's another curve. I believe Mr. Bierman just even with it being blocked off, he just witnessed a head-on collision, I believe, up there. So we still have people that are managing to come through and go fast. Now imagine that.
3 minutes.
Okay. Yes.
Just finish your statement.
No, I was just going to say, imagine that much more traffic. And yes, we do have a homeless situation that's quite serious right now. But I don't understand what that has to do with the road. And another situation is when that motorcycle had an accident and the man died. He did die, yes. That he was one of many speeders in my neighborhood. Like I said, my daughter and I could have been killed. So you open it and there's a matter of time before somebody's going to die.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. Catherine, who is next?
Yes, sir. Again, this is Catherine for the record. Mr. Rob Wood would be next.
Mr. Wood, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, would you please state your name for the record and let me swear you in, please?
My name's Robert Wood.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your time. I think bringing it back to the rezoning issue, which I think the road closure was, you have to look at it historically. Why it was rezoned in the first place with the conditions was because they wanted to build the grocery store there that they built up by Walgreens instead. So we figured the grocery store was going to attract a ton more traffic through the down Chimney Rock and Indian Hollow to use that. So it has to do with the use of the property. So this is rental property. We have no idea what that property will be used for this year, next year, or 5-10 years down the road. So let's just tie it back to the road being closed. So let's say a grocery store goes in there this year, it lasts 2 years, and then something else goes in, and then the city says, well, there's less traffic, so we can open up the road. So then they put in something else that's of high use, and then we have to go back and get the city to close the road again. I mean, it just doesn't work. Just leave the road closed, but that ties right into what type of businesses you allow on that property. So I say if he wants to have any business, the list he wants to have, then just leave the road closed so we don't have this issue down the road. That's all.
All right, thank you. Catherine, who's next, please?
Yes, sir. That would be a Mr. John Lemke. And then after him, I have the written statement to read out loud.
Okay, after he's done, I'll come back to you. Mr. Lemke, are you there?
Yes, hello. My name's Angelica Lemke, and I'm the spouse of John Lemke. I am a resident.
Excuse me. Before you start, would you please repeat your name for the record? Let me swear you in, please.
My name's Angelica Lemke, the spouse of John Lemke.
All right. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, Mr. Gordon.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm a resident of 3410 Chimney Rock Road. We built our house in 1999 prior to any of the businesses that have come up on Lowman. And I had children back in 1999 that unfortunately were not ever able to enjoy the front of their house because of how the traffic was just outrageous down our street. With the closure, I have seen a diminish of traffic. And yes, it's a lot more accessible for us to be able to go out and walk and enjoy our front yard. My question is if you guarantee this rezone, can't you just put something there to guarantee us as property owners of Indian Hollow the right to say that this road will never be open? I would want to hear that, because if the answer is no, I will probably tell you for sure that I'd be one of the first people to probably put a for sale sign on my home and have to look somewhere else where there is safety in our neighborhood. I mean, I invite any of you to come into Chimney Rock and see if the road does open, come and see and sit in front of my house and see how fast these cars, because if you know the structure of Chimney Rock, it is kind of at an incline. So cars come from Roadrunner Circle down Chimney Rock flying. And then there's that turn there that they don't realize if they're never familiar with the neighborhood, where they can actually inside and cause great damage to one of the houses where the bends are. So my take on it is, as a mother with 3 young children, my kids were never able to enjoy the front lawn because of the Indian Hollow being open. once it was closed in 2012, after 11 years, I thanked the Lord and I said, thank you, Jesus, because now, I mean, and you might say, why are people interested? They're interested because it is a shortcut. Who wants to go down Bowman when it's peak hours in traffic? And it's foothills. So people do cut through our neighborhood to get to the other side, or to go through Hill Rice School, or to go through all that other community. So for me, I would just ask that if you do rezone, maybe guarantee us Indian Hollow residents some kind of respect, and say, let's put a clause in there that we will rezone it, provided that Indian Hollow never gets reopened. That's just the way I feel, and I feel like my kids never enjoyed their front yard, but maybe other kids that move into the neighborhood can enjoy their front yard. And we have kids now that are riding their skateboards, and yeah, you can put a basketball hoop. Where are they supposed to go if there's really not a lot of parks around our area or vicinity?
All right, thank you. I have to tell you, I have been through the neighborhood. I have done a site visit. I know exactly the area and the traffic and the roads that you're talking about. But again, I think that we're not talking about something that I believe that we can do. I think that we have to talk strictly about the zoning. I guess we've been told, and I don't know whether you've been listening, that we can't do that. So I would, believe me, I have, it's 90 some odd signatures or whatever it is. And that's a lot of signatures. A lot of people feel like you do. But I'm fortunately, well, let's see what my fellow commissioners have to say. Will you have, Katherine, you have a statement you'd like to read?
Yes, Commissioner Gordon and the rest of the members of Planning and Zoning. I received an email from a Miss Armina and Mr. Herb Taylor. They were unable to attend the Zoom meeting, and the request was that I read this to you. So I'm just going to start from the beginning and I'll read. It just says, this email is being sent to you because I'm unable to participate in your Zoom meeting. Therefore, I'm asking that you read our response regarding our opposition to the zone change at 3830 East Lowman Avenue. This hearing should not be convened since many of those who are being impacted by a possible zone change are not able fully to participate by Zoom in this hearing, and because of the shelter at home dictate from the governor. The following are some reasons we believe the change should be denied. Every property along Lowman on each side of the subject's property, except one, have a C3C designation. The property has no conditions, appears to be Club Fitness. We purchased our property in February of 1997 when Indian Hollow ended, where the gate is now located. In fact, the original city plan called for Indian Hollow to be a cul-de-sac located where the gate has been installed. The Sombra Largo condominium owners are the most impacted by a zone change. A change in the city code seems to negate the health, safety, and well-being of neighborhood residents and makes businesses a top priority. Regards, Armina and Herb Taylor.
All right, thank you, Katherine. Do you see any more hands raised at the moment?
Commissioner Gordon, members of the commission, it looks like all the hands are down at this point.
All right. Is there any comments or questions from the commission? All right, I guess there aren't. Oh, David, you're not the commission, but go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if you're ready for me to call the roll for decision on this zone change request, I'll do so.
I guess we are. Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Sanchez?
So because this is not a vote on whether to reopen that street or not, and it is simply a zoning change, I vote yes, based on staff recommendation, and it meets the purpose and intent of the 2001 zoning code.
Commissioner Muniz?
I vote yes for the zone change on recommendations from the staff.
Commissioner Bennett?
I vote yes. I'm going to echo Abraham's same sentiments. This isn't to do with the road itself. It's the zoning change. So I'm voting yes based on staff recommendation, site survey as well.
Commissioner Smith?
I vote yes, because it is consistent with the purpose and the intent of the ordinance, of the zoning ordinance.
Commissioner Guerrero?
I vote yes, based on recommendations from staff and as well as the comprehensive plan. I will say I did used to live in that area a few years ago, so I understand the concerns of all of these neighbors. But I'm voting yes, kind of the same way as a lot of my, or pretty much the rest of the commissioners, mostly because this vote is really not about opening the gate. I believe it's a separate issue, but I appreciate all of your outreach and all of your comments tonight.
Commissioner Gordon?
All right, based on my site visit, our discussion this evening, the amount of issues that have been brought forward, and this is an item that we were just basically voting on a zoning change. It has nothing to do with the road. But I'd like to make a comment before I make my vote. I do respect the fact that there were so many signatures submitted. I wish it was something that we could do right now, but apparently we can't. I hope that in the future, perhaps maybe the city will never have to open this road. We'll have to wait and see what's going to be with that. I can't tell you about the future. So in that case, I vote yes, and therefore the item passes 6-0, and therefore I turn the meeting back to Commissioner Thomas, Chairman.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that part of the meeting, Commissioner Gordon. Okay, we're now on to commission commentary. Did anybody on the commission have any comments to make at this point?
Well, I have my usual question. This is Commissioner Gordon. Mr. Nichols, I'm going to ask you my question again. I know you told me at the last meeting 2 months ago that an RFP, I think when I spoke to you personally, you said an RFP had gone out and someone was chosen and they were issuing contracts. Do you know whether the contracts have been signed and we can look forward perhaps maybe in the next 2 months or so that we can begin work on the new zoning laws?
Commissioner Gordon and members of the commission, Larry Nichols, Community Development. My statement to you is still valid. We are moving forward with the zoning updates. We know that's a high priority for us. Has the pandemic and some of those items surrounding that slowed progress slightly? I'll have to state candidly, yes, it has. But I guess maybe I need to ask Dave Weir if he's still on here, because he's been working with that as well. But I believe what I've said to you is the correct status, unless Dave has some additional to add. Dave, do you have anything else there?
Planning and Zoning Commission and Mr. Nichols, I think I'm along the same lines as you. I might be able to give a little additional detail. The contract, I believe, is under review by city, and then it will, as soon as that is come to terms with the consulting firm and our format, it will be placed on a city council agenda for adoption, and the project can be kicked off. So I would anticipate probably sometime in January that would take place.
All right, well, thank you.
And
Any other commissioner comments?
Gordon, that I guess what you stated there, that we're still on schedule. Maybe the fact that the contract is being reviewed, we're a little further along than that.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any other commissioner?
Yeah, Commissioner Guerrero here. I just actually really wanted to thank the staff, because as I look at the time right now, it's 10:08 p.m. We've been here since 6 o'clock, and this board, even though most of us have like a job or we have something else going on, we do it on a volunteer basis. But gosh, I mean, if I was working and somebody asked me to stay on a Zoom call until 10:09 now, I don't know if I'd be super happy about it. So I just want to thank you guys so much for your hard work and just positive vibes. And yeah, just, keep it on. Thank you so much.
Okay. This is Commissioner Gordon again, if I can. I want to wish everybody on the commission and staff and everybody who's worked so hard to have a happy Thanksgiving. Excuse me, and hopefully that we can see some light at the end of this tunnel, maybe with the vaccine. we can perhaps look to sometime in the future to get back to being chambers, and we don't have to put up with this crazy Zoom. Anyway, have a good holiday.
Thank you.
I second that.
Mr. Gordon.
I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'd like to also repeat what Harvey said. I wish all of you a Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And we have a lot to be thankful for. We're surviving this virus that's going around. And I send my prayers to all of your families and my families that we all stay safe. And don't forget to wear your mask when you go out. So happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. I think we all want to share in that idea. Enjoy yourself, but don't take any risks. Okay, and staff announcements. Are there any staff announcements? Or did we cover that?
Commissioner Thomas, this is Larry Nichols, Community Development. Very briefly, it was mentioned earlier in this meeting about the staff being enabled to process requests for zoning changes, variances, all the other work that we do that involves the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just want to assure the Planning and Zoning Commission that the Community Development Department was declared an essential operation during the pandemic. And for the last 10 months, we have been doing that work, not only with the planning work, but with the building and the COVID funding under community improvement. And you're absolutely right, Commissioner Guerrero, we do put in a lot of hours. Mr. Weir and myself, we started at 7 o'clock this morning, but and we're happy to do that. And we want to thank the commission for the time they spent this evening. And also, I want to wish all of you a very pleasant and blessed Thanksgiving holiday.
Before we close, are we going to have a meeting in December? Do we have any items that you know?
I don't know that there are any that have been prepared. Catherine, do you have that?
Members of the commission, Commissioner Gordon, yes, we have one item that I am aware of. That agenda will have to go out next week to be posted in the Sun News. It's an infill development proposal.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that it's on my calendar. Not that I'm going anywhere, but
right. You shouldn't be traveling, Harvey.
Not that any of us are going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second that. Let's go to bed.
Did anybody move? If somebody has to move first.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I second it.
Okay. All right. So without any further comment, we're adjourned. Time is 10:14.
You all have a good night.